started so we can celebrate with Rob. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday book celebration. I'm Malika Albrecht, and I'm the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. Super excited tonight. We have Rob Fillman, and we are looking forward to hearing him read from his book. I'm putting a link so you can directly order from the publisher. Oh, you already did.
Already
Gina, you're
got it.
so awesome. I'm going to read a brief bio of Robert Fillman. If you're not already familiar, the book that we're celebrating today is The Melting Point, and it's out by one of my favorite publishers, Broadstone Books. Boy, Broadstone Books, we've celebrated quite a few authors, and each time I walk away going, the best. He's the author of several other books, Housebird, which was Terrapin Books, and that came out in 2022. And that was I wish I'd known about you then. We would have celebrated that. And then also, he's a fellow Main Street Rag person. His chapbook, November Weather Spell, is Main Street Rag, and that was in 2019. His poems have appeared in many different publications, including Poetry East, Salamander, Spoon River Poetry Review, Tar River Poetry, and of course, Verse Daily. His literary criticism has been published in ISLE, Interdisciplinary Studies in Literature and the Environment, the College Language Association Journal, College Literature, and elsewhere. He's 3 weeks into the semester, an assistant professor of English at Kutztown University. He also serves on the board of Poetry in Transit, which is a fabulous program, and is poetry editor for Pennsylvania English. Thank you so much for letting us celebrate with you tonight.
Well, thank you, Malika, for hosting me. Thank you for the invitation and for providing this space for poets. I'm just so excited to be a part of this community and to read tonight. I plan to read mostly from the newest collection from The Melting Point, which, as you mentioned, came out from Broadstone earlier in this year. It is available from the publisher, but I also just want to say that if you're in Pennsylvania, there's a store in Kutztown called Firefly Bookstore, and they have an online site, and I'm also featured in their local authors section. So just a plug for them. I plan to read maybe 7 or 8 poems tonight, and I thought I would begin with the title poem, which is called Melting Point. And I think I should maybe just preface the reading by saying that the volume thinks through the notion of melting, and it does so in a number of different ways. Of course, there's the physical, substances that transition from one solid, a solid state into another. But then there's also emotional melting, right? How do we stay solid? How do we resist breaking down? And when we inevitably have these moments of breakdown, how do we get put back together? So this poem's called Melting Point. My uncle on the local news, summing up his life in a 30-second spot, his words broken up and clumsily put back together between noisy, sporadic shots of him in an apron and helmet, a pair of leather welding gloves. The TV reporter cutting him off to ask what he plans to do now that the plant has closed, his job lost. Not grasping how those words sear like an acetylene torch. And there I am watching as a small boy, seeing the irrevocable destruction of my kin from the comfort of my living room, not knowing the pain he carried in his head, his liver, his fists, his rifle. How it's all there flashing on the screen and for a moment transformed into something useful and brilliant, a natural kind of alchemy. The tears in a middle-aged man's eyes about to spark when the channel suddenly cuts to commercial. And this next poem also explores the melting motif, and I think it also speaks to that merging of the bodily and the psychological, how those two are always intertwined, right? And the vision of ourselves that we put forth to the world, what's outward facing, sometimes differs greatly from what's going on internally. And this is called Buying Ice at the Wawa for My Wife. In the back corner of the store, in the freezer that is never defrosted, 7-pound bags of ice are packed in blue-gray plastic, They are piled from the bottom shelf to the top and hard to unwedge without tearing, cold on my fingers, wet against my thighs when I lug the load to the counter where I stand before the checkout girl, 14 pounds drooping from each wrist, chuckling at her joke about me being the life of the party, Iceman, the nickname she calls me. I always imagine the way her face would crack and tick if I told her why I buy all these bags, that my wife is sick, that the ice settles a sour stomach caused by a weakened heart, that she has no appetite, that to my wife, hard ice nuggets feel like food. Instead, I clamp $10 on the counter, not asking for change, refusing to melt even a little as the automatic sliding door rattles me back into the heat. And this next one is it's simply called Boy on a Train. Uh, it's a rather mundane title. Boy on a Train. When electricity enters the body, it zigzags around in a circuit, trying to find a way out, like a trapped insect darting across the floor away from the glare of a single light. On a dark Sunday afternoon, it will sound like a thunderclap. Some teenagers will see their friend launched into the air. They will smell the burnt flesh mixing with black smoke rising from his wriggling body. But for now, his metal watch band is nowhere near the overhead power cables as he takes that first tentative step, one sneaker against a ladder rung, fingers gripping the steel above. For now, he's like any one of us, just a kid climbing a parked train car on a dare, and all that buzzes in his head are the fear-flecked shouts of his buddies, the thought of how shocked they'll be when he hits the top. And this next poem that I'm going to read, the first line is also the title of the poem, and a number of the poems in this collection do that. So this is called On a Tuesday, My Son and I Are Screaming. So I'll read that line again, and then I'll just go into the rest of the poem. On a Tuesday, my son and I are screaming down Splash Mountain at Disney, 1,200 miles removed from another mass shooting. This one at an elementary school in Texas, though we don't know about it yet. Ours are screams of laughter, water spraying in our faces, which shields us from the midday sun as our flume steers around minor dangers, bumps the edges of darkened tunnels, past whimsical vignettes of cartoon animals, the kind you might spy in a fourth-grade classroom. We are powerless, unable to exit, our stomachs turning with each unexpected drop. But we chose this terror, and it shows in the ride photograph. My son's eyes closed, his arms waving in the air, a boy just looking happy to be alive. And, I'll just say it just seems like every time you turn around, there's another act of violence on the news, another shooting, another act of domestic terrorism. And it really actually, bothers me pretty considerably that poems like that keep creeping into my consciousness, my work. It makes me really, really sad that I find myself writing about guns a lot more than I wish to. Um, this this next one, it's a slightly different vein, but it's another one where the title spills into the poem. So this is the first line: one boy drinks while the other. One boy drinks while the other sits on his hands and waits for the bottle, his friend taking a long quaff, filling his mouth with the whiskey he stole from his dad's liquor cabinet, venturing beyond his age, turning his eyes to a sky that widens with every gulp. Jesus, the boy says, jabbing his friend's gut, save some for me. But he's too far gone. He won't give it up. It's as though he understands what a kid like him will become, what hell awaits when he gets home, knows that this betrayal might be the only refuge he's got. just feeling enough to be alive, a satisfying heat in contrast to a world that burns the whole way down but doesn't offer any warmth. I actually never read that one at a reading, so that was an exclusive. Another thing that this collection does, it has a number of ekphrastic poems in it, and so these are poems that attempt to engage with a work of art, and there is there's the assumption that language can only do so much to evoke an image. And so one of the things I'm hoping is that, okay, maybe the audience has seen the painting in question, or if they haven't, they'll go look it up. But there's also the hope that the poem can function as an independent entity that's not reliant on the original. And so there are a few ekphrastic poems that are weaved through this collection. And this one is called On Rembrandt's A Lady and Gentleman in Black. Sometimes an X-ray reveals a broken bone or foreign object, pieces of shrapnel or a bullet lodged, the things secretly hidden beneath the flesh, screws and metal plates, hard to see inflammation of soft tissue, impacted molars, the skeleton made flat and white against the cold light box. We see everything that shouldn't be there but is. Sometimes an X-ray reveals what is not there but should be, like a small child, no longer the center of attention, extracted like an abscessed tooth, carefully removed by a Dutch master with a brush, the way a skilled surgeon might slice through skin with a scalpel, cutting only what must be cut, replacing empty space. Forever, two parents sit in silence, somber layers of black blanketing their son, a boy who perhaps did not want to pose that day, but romp with his favorite dog or chase a ball. He's no longer to the right of his mother, who is looking away from his absence, while his father stares ahead on the threshold of a sigh. Was the child's life finished before the painting, or was he lost afterwards? Was this Rembrandt's unplanned act of compassion, each stroke like a caressing hand, as if this merciful erasure somehow restores the couple, keeps them composed by coating over the source of their pain, what they cannot bear to see. And moving from the Dutch master to an American master, Andrew Wyeth, he has a wonderful painting called Spindrift, and this poem, "Abandoned Boat," tries to evoke the mood of that painting. To understand any of it requires intuition, patience, a love for quiet and black tea. It means sitting in the dull warmth of an afternoon, surrounded only by sky and water. There's barely movement, a few herons or gulls, foam rising and falling as it floats on the greenish-gray ruffle of the waves. This dory is recently emptied, the oars and tackles stored neatly away, an owner nowhere to be found. The shadow of the hull opens like a mackerel's mouth before a jolt stops that yawn forever. Here, a way of life is stranded on the shore, like a lost bucket of oysters baking in the sun, the blue flesh of barefoot souls cold against a wet, slatted floor. And if I can, I'd like to just maybe read maybe two more, just one more ekphrastic, and then a final poem. This ekphrastic is inspired by a Winslow Homer painting called "The Fallen Deer," and the painting has an epigraph, and so does the poem. Just shot a miserable pot hunter, and that was by Winslow Homer. So this is after "The Fallen Deer." A century has passed since you straddled that log, delicate neck stretching to meet the creek's surface, snout skimming the cool water now and then. Another morning makes no difference to you. The bank all shade and mud brush, a heaving, endless silence to anyone not stalking these woods. And then it happens. The season's pulse grows faint. Your tail flutters like a white flag. The half-light flattens. It's your eye that keeps fighting, almost as if the life of your gaze is leaping toward the next 100 years, loud as a rifle shot, while the earth, time itself, slowly, surely turns. And if I can just read this last one. I figured I should read the last poem from The Melting Point. It's the final one in the collection. It's one of the older poems that appears in the book, and I've gotten into the habit of using this as a way to send off a reading. So, last poem in the book. It's the last poem I'll read. It's called "There Should Always Be Two." There should always be two ripe grapefruits in a glass bowl in the fridge beside a small note. Darling, you can always count on me. Scribble that to yourself if you have to. Then spend the morning in the tub, holding yourself beneath the water. Listen for the cello's womb bleeding into your wrinkled skin, eyes half opened, like rough moss lining a clay pot. Don't get up to answer any calls. When you fly downstairs, there will be bags of groceries already unpacked, a bright kitchen that you won't remember tidying, and a fresh pie warm on the counter. Eat it naked and wet. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Fabulous
Thank you for
poem to
listening.
end with. Come on, Rob. That is
Yeah,
perfect.
more.
I
Thank you. Thank you so much.
agree with that one, Cindy. If there's
Rob,
another poem that occurs to you to read, feel free to do so. But it did really, I was really struck by this reverence in your poems, and then also how you are so exacting with your details, and so many of them are so embodied, very tactile. And I was surprised by that, because
Thank you.
it was amazing. And it's not often a sense that gets triggered by a lot of poetry readings, but I felt very strongly through a lot of this, very aware of like bodily connection, sensation, fully embodied in an experience. Is that something that you are aware of bringing into your work, or that you've worked on, or is it just something that it kind of naturally comes from who you are? Yeah. Marjorie just wrote, so good as
Oh,
usual.
thank you. Thank you, Marjorie. It's I think it comes I want to say naturally because, we experience the world through the senses. And I think that's why I'm the type of writer that I like to really focus in on a thing and just try to experience it on almost a microscopic level,
And
and
tactile,
yeah, and find
so
my
like,
way out, after that. And so
okay.
I try to be really attuned to. I tend to be a fairly introverted, introspective person who spends a lot of time just in sort of those moments of just quiet absorption, and I think that then gets filtered into my work somehow.
Well, it's lovely because
Oh, thank
it's
you.
to me it wasn't just like visual or like audit, it was so tactile, so connected, so embodied, that it was just it's enjoyable, it's extraordinary.
Thank you for saying that's very nice.
Uh,
Thank you.
Do people have questions for Rob about this work, or how he knew he was writing this book? And yes, Cindy.
well, I just have a comment that I love the poems, but I also love your delivery of them. There's an earnestness to them, and I can see you're a very serious you're a serious poet who's humble, who doesn't take himself too seriously as some poets do. Malika knows that, and I just really enjoyed your voice. I
Oh,
want
thank
to
you.
hear more. I would have wanted to hear more because there was something very genuine, very authentic um, about your voice. You have a very distinctive voice in your poems and verbally. So
Thank you.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes, Charles.
Rob, and I'm not saying this because you're my friend. I completely agree with what Cindy said, and I think your poetry is extraordinary.
Oh, thank you, Chuck.
Not just good, not
We
just
really need to
excellent.
point it. Yeah,
It is extraordinary, and I hope I'm not embarrassing you in any way,
I
but
don't know. It
it
looks like I'm
is,
blushing.
and
I don't know.
you need to be nationally
Oh, thank
recognized.
you, Chuck.
but that's twice. I think that word extraordinary has showed up several times in the chat section. You'll get to see that when I send it to you, Rob. We'll have you blushing when you're, on your own
Mm.
time. So you don't have to worry about us filming it. Marjorie, you had a
I
question?
was just saying, I love the way your family very naturally comes into your poetry. It's not sentimental, and yet it's very moving at the same time.
Oh, thanks.
I just think that's very powerful. And I guess do you share the writing with your wife or with your kids, or maybe your kids are too young? I don't know.
No, so I do share it with them. Certainly I share it with Melissa. She's usually a first reader, my wife. I do share some of the poems with the kids. There's one that I wrote recently called Emma at First Base. She's a first baseman on the softball team. I'm a coach. And
Oh, I
so,
saw that picture you posted on
oh,
Facebook.
thank you.
Yeah, that was a great photo. Yeah.
Yeah, we had our first game, the other night. So, but yeah, so I do share my work with them. Two different reactions. They sometimes feel like I'm mining them for material. And that's not. I mean, it's a half truth. But part of it is just they're the people that are closest to me, and that inevitably I have things that I want to say.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, they're part of the lived experience, the reflection, so of course there's that. Oh, yeah, it was the poem in particular about Melissa and getting the ice that's when I just had so many physical sensations listening to that. It was really incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
So I am gonna ask, like, when did you know, how do you work with your poetry? I mean, do you kind of have an idea of a book building, or is that something that in hindsight you kind of see?
Yeah, I never
Just
know.
okay.
I'm someone I tend to write a lot of individual poems. I write all the time, and whatever is moving across my mind at the moment is the thing that might spark the poem, and then I write my way out of it. And then usually what happens is, you think I think I have a sense of the types of poems that I like to write, or when I fall into a voice, I know what seems natural to me. But I never have a sense of what the book's going to be until I, look back on it in retrospect and have a real sense of like, oh, this is what I was actually focusing on, over this
Mhm.
past year or 2 years. These are the thematics that really bubble up to the surface. But as I'm doing it, I'm just in the trenches. I don't know, it takes a while for me to figure out what it is I've done.
That always is reassuring to me to hear that, because that makes sense. It's kind of how I work too. When you were talking about, not wanting that you wish good gun violence wasn't, coming into your poems. Those poems are so important though, and I just wanted to thank you for writing them. And I know it's painful, but I think that it was done so well, and it's so important.
Thank you
So
so
thank
much.
you. I feel like people kind of, any more questions? Did I miss? I checked the chat section. I didn't see any questions that I missed. Any other thoughts, or maybe want to write about some stuff that I love when that happens, when somebody reads and I think, oh, that line struck me, and you'll have a fun time seeing how many times we wrote the same line as a group, two and three people at the exact same time. I did want to, Regina is so kind, just put in the link if you don't already have Rob's book. There's a link directly to order it from the publisher, and there's also a 20% off your order with the code POETS24. Thank you, Rob. That was awesome. It was everything I hoped for.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I do want to say that your poems made me want to write. Like as soon as this is done, I think I'm going to be sitting with a pen in my hand until I go to bed.
Oh,
So
that is such a compliment. Thank you.
I love that, Christy, because yes, there is something very inspiring too. Uh, yeah, thank you. That's a good thing. And actually, we're going to head towards open mic, and Marjorie, we're going to get you first in line.
Well, I feel kind of badly. I didn't mean to kick Christy out of the front of the line, Christy.
You're
Uh,
fine.
You're okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna read excerpts from a long 9/11 poem since it's 9/11. Um, it has 7 sections, so I'll just read a couple of those. It starts from far away and gets closer and closer and ends with one person. And each section's titled. So I'll read the first section, then I'll skip to the ending sections. Pennsylvania, September. Oh, by the way, Rob, this is from Commonwealth, the first version of the anthology. Rob is in the anthology that just came out called Keystone Poetry. So,
Yeah, it's on my shelf.
and you can see how wrinkled up it is, falling apart. Pennsylvania, September. The Witnesses. United Airlines Flight 93. Allegheny County Emergency Coordinator. Something made it pivot, duck its nose at Cleveland, and turn away from San Francisco and the mounting sun, unabashedly displaying its ordinary face. 19 times that Ohio Center called out for contact, safety, confirmation, any answer to the circling back over the keystone, over the routine of our lives, all that came before. Controllers and pilots, we all listened for the practice SOS, then translated to fear that static of turmoil, cockpit havoc, radio mistaken for intercom, the unplanned for and unfamiliar voice commandeering crew and passengers toward calm, those strangers now confidently on their way towards Pittsburgh, boasting a bomb. Then there's Westmoreland County 911 dispatcher, the cell phones. These are just the different sections. An auto service station owner, and then the last couple ones. The bike riders. A twirling fireball that engine gunned twice, house windows rattling all around, then smoke rising right up, signal style, from below the tree line. When we got there, the whole damn field on fire, trees plowed down, and this big hole, broad as a barn and deep, uninvited in the ground. The first photographer. I grabbed my camera quick-like, tracked that smoke to a few acres of grass and weeds below the old strip mine. I clicked automatically, focusing pain. In the trees, what was left of metal and flesh. Beyond the woods, the scorched crater swallowing who I was. And then the last one. I watched a mother at the year memorial. Even now the hills lie too beautifully below sky, fabricate disbelief. How can the wrens sing? Piles of trinkets collapse beneath new flags and plastic tulips, messages scrawled to the dead on portable toilets, guardrails of makeshift parking lots. Such an ugly thing to happen in this lovely place, she said, turning to leave.
Holy smoke, Marjorie. I'm wondering where we can get a copy of that whole poem. Is that something?
It's in this Commonwealth anthology. It's called Commonwealth Contemporary Poets on Pennsylvania. And I think I forget where else it appeared, but I can write it.
Perfect. Thank you. Because I was like, I kind of want to hear all of them.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Long though. Yeah.
And that's where, I just think I'm so grateful for poets that are, speaking in and building, this place of truth from different vantage points. It's so critical. And that's where I think it's so important to have an open where all voices can be heard. Thank you very much, Marjorie.
Thanks,
I have Christy. There you go, Christy. And remind me if you wanted me to stop recording for that one. For
No,
this
you're
one.
okay. I checked that I could read this one before I submit it. So, and Shamala and Regina have already heard this, but they're just going to have to hear it one more time. This is a poem I swore I would never write, and then I did. Taco Tuesday. The neon green and yellow Modelo signs flicker matched my hesitation as I entered the restaurant. My friend was already seated and sipping a salt-rimmed margarita. I let a warm tortilla chip water my mouth, guessing mine was on the way. I thought she was sliding a menu within my range of reach. Nudging the joystick of my power wheelchair with my thumb and forefinger, I angled towards her. My mind's eye smiled at plans to devour our usual order. Instead, perfectly posed nursing home brochures lined the sticky space between us. She pointed. This one has its own Taco Tuesday. The incoming margarita started sweating as soon as our waitress grasped the complexity unfolding on my non-existent poker face. I was intent on trading food for yet to be expressed thought. Our waitress walked away, pen in pocket, avoid having to write down my on the rocks question. Are you offering to bunk with me? Hung in the air like congealed queso, too thick to drip even one drop of understanding. Her eyes barked no. Her lips chirped. I have someone who loves me. I chugged the soppy margarita and checked out. Months without salsa soothed me. When her name lit up my phone, limed bile burned my throaty greeting. Her salty tears unraveled every truth she had carefully stitched. Her quadruple bypass exposed a knowing. Her forever loved hollowed between her cracked ribs. When he had to clean her raw, unadorned skin, he rebuked the broken bow of his unfulfilled want. She begged me to salve her wounds, cradle hopes until she could raise them. I could not harm her, nor betray myself. Now I have someone who loves me, someone who lifts me up without complaint. He kisses my crooked body and still finds it holy. I no longer fear bathroom breaks. I know reverent hands will bathe me without shame. Now when I eat tacos, I savor their slow burn seasoned with ironic memories. I taste love's unfettered joy. Thank you.
Wow, Christy, thank you. Yep, I love that line, still finds it holy.
Thank
I
you.
had read it, but it was nice to hear you read it. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Regina, have you next?
Hi, everyone. So this is an older one. I haven't read it in a while, but it is appropriate, considering what we have been through over these last couple of days. Epigraph. Colorado high school shooter was radicalized by some extremist network, Sheriff's Department says. A 16-year-old student who authorities say opened fire at his Colorado high school on Wednesday, wounding 2 classmates and then turning the gun on himself, was believed to be radicalized by some extremist network, officials with the local sheriff's office said. The gunfire at Evergreen High School broke out about 12:24 p.m. local time, according to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Still, hate has no home here. Hate has no home here. This is how I want to begin the conversation, yet the lines of the ones who nearly died from the colonizing destruction of their nations, and the ones who were bunched in the putrid bowels of the traffickers' ships, and the ones who now stand at the borders of hope, receiving only the glare of derision, pain hurled by loathsome lips, no chance at a shot of fortune's revision, and the ones who crowd streets that promise golden freedom, and the ones who want to love who they love. Lord, you know. Oh, I wish that I could begin this conversation with hate has no home here, but I must resist misplacing this platitude, especially as it is too often not true, for currently it has many homes. Forged in fear, it has long been a stone that built our institutions and fortified heinous enemies. And while we can pretend that we're almost there, that we're at the end of hate, that lie will seal our fate. That lie will stay our fight. And we don't have time to wait. We must evict for real, for even babies die on battlefields. Hate has no home here, yet light and loss, light on loss, says otherwise. Ban the damnable lingering aspiration. Just make it true. Just make it true. Thank you.
Yum. Powerful. And I love the repetition of hate has no home here, but you can't just use that platitude. The last lines make it true. Oh, that hit me right in the gut. And thank you for that. And again, that reminds me of the conversation we were having earlier with Rob, just the importance of speaking into this truth, of bringing this here and holding that space. Think of, again, the sacredness of words, the power of words, of speaking the truth. Yes, there are people that lie and lie a lot and lie to us over and over again. But I see poetry as a sacred act. So thank you for doing the work. Charles, we're super excited. I'm so glad you agreed to read a page from what you're working on. Thank you so much. And don't forget to unmute.
There we go. Now it will work. And thank you. I will tell you, this is a first draft. So I'm sure there's some stuff in it that needs to be worked on. I have never written a chapter book for a child before. So this is my first attempt. The title is called Emma Jean and the Mystical Viewer. So this is chapter 1, Lost in the Woods. Emma Jean and her annoying little brother, Kyle, were lost in the woods. How could this possibly have happened? There was no doubt about it. She was lost, but how could this be? Emma Jean had explored the forest that bordered the backyard of their house for as long as she could remember. She was 10 years old, but she was experienced with hiking, and she had never had a problem before. Unlike her little brother, Emma Jean had an excellent sense of direction. She had a compass that she kept in her ever-present backpack, but she rarely used it. Now, she might have to. The backpack was something she had always had with her and was decorated with green, white, and orange, Ireland's national colors on one side, and on the other, a golden harp, the Irish national symbol. Emma Jean had also promised her grandparents that she would never go very deep into the woods, and she was now wondering if she had broken that promise to her beloved grandparents. And if that weren't bad enough, she had given in to her 5-year-old brother Kyle's pestering to take him with her. He was 5 years younger than her, and he often annoyed her, but when he looked at her with his big brown puppy dog eyes, she gave in to him, as she usually did. She sighed and thought, I really shouldn't spoil him like that. But we aren't going far. Do you understand, Kyle? She had said to him, and she had sounded almost like an adult. He had shaken his head in agreement and wrapped his arms around her in a bear hug. Take it easy. You're going to break me in half. Even though he was only 5 years old, he was already almost bigger than she was, and she was tiny for her age. Almost everyone who saw them together, if I can finish this paragraph, wondered how they could be brother and sister. They were so different physically. While she was smaller and looked younger than her age, he was big and husky and appeared to be almost older than her. She had long, dark hair, while his was cut short and bright red. She had deep green eyes, and his were blue like a summer sky. She didn't mind the differences unless someone commented on her size and said she was cute. Then she would say to them, I'm 10 years old. I'm in 4th grade. I'm not a baby.
That's great, Charles. Please read the comments too. I want you to see how many people were super excited. Yeah, super excited to hear this story and all in. Oh, you're coming
Thank
back
you.
next week to finish it for us?
Is
Well,
this something I didn't know about this. If this is something that is ongoing, I would love to keep participating.
I'll have to find you on Facebook, or maybe, Robert, I could probably look on your page if you're friends. Yeah,
Let me put it in here. I'll put my
yeah,
face.
would you? Okay, that'd be
Sure.
fabulous. Because I do kind of I want to keep going with them, Gene, and hearing about it. Yeah, people are
Okay.
writing, it
It's my
reminds me of
email, but it's also the Facebook address.
okay.
I had a newer one, but my messages don't work anymore on the newer one.
Yeah.
Facebook did something and I can't get them to work.
Well, Facebook has done that a couple times with lots of people where you have to get a whole new account. But
Yep.
thank you, Charles. That was fabulous. That was really
You
lovely.
you are very welcome.
I have Cindy next.
I, as usual, am not sure which one to read because there's a serious tone going on here, so I feel like I should read one of my more serious political poems. But there's a part of me that wants to do an I Am the Girl poem that has nothing to do with anything that was read tonight, except for maybe a little chaos. But I Am the Girl, Wizard of Oz version. I am the girl, and Robert had mentioned that, his title, was the first line. And my I Am the Girl series, every line is I Am the Girl. And it was modeled after Anne Waldman's I Am a Bookwoman, it was fast-speaking woman. I am the girl with the gingham dress. I am the girl with the sober dog. I am the girl with the rainbow dreams. I am the girl with the cyclonic house. I am the girl who led the brigade. I am the girl who inhaled the poppies. I am the girl who took a long trip. I am the girl who caught the broom. I am the girl who's no longer in Wichita, that's Kansas. I am the girl who votes red, white, and blue.
And I am going to be that girl's best friend. Just always love these poems.
I'm going to withdraw them from Christy Bowen. I don't want Dancing Girl Press to mess with them. I have another publisher in mind. She takes too long.
I was going to say, I know it's been under consideration.
Yeah, you know what? I wrote her 3 times already.
I
She
trust you.
she
Follow
didn't
your
even
you.
she didn't
Yeah,
even send me the book I ordered from her, paid for. It's been 3 months, so she doesn't
Yeah.
like me.
I hope that's not true, but Shamala and I both are saying the same thing, and I'm sure other people. I trust your gut.
Yeah.
You know where to bring those poems. I've been waiting for them to all come out so that we could hear them all celebrate. So I kind of want to push
Just
you.
10 of them. Just 10.
Well, we will hear as many as you'll share. Yeah, and yeah, perfect. I have Bob and then Shamala. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay. What is required? What is required is a man drawn in chalk, a woman wrapped in colored string, an animal hiding in a flower, a small rock made of lace, air they can no longer hold, a word spoken deep inside them.
Bob, I always feel like I'm getting like the little dolls, the nesting dolls with your poems. Like I just keep going, wait, there's what? There's another one in there? Fabulous, thank you.
Thank you.
And we get to be with Shamala now. That's my last poet for open mic tonight, guys.
Might not be the most cheerful poem in the world, but we are where we are in the world. So, Rob, thank you for the genuineness of your work. Being in the body, being direct, being that sort of simplicity makes things very real, and I think gives a lot more power than all the highfalutin technique in the world. You know,
Thank you.
being
Thank you for saying
real.
that.
And Cindy's right about the reading voice too. They go together beautifully. So thank you.
so much.
And if it's okay, I want to thank Regina for listening to me rant about various things earlier in the day. Thank you, Regina. And now this is after 9/11, and it's very wet ink. So excuse me if I fumble a bit. The annoying, hyperactive little kid a few doors down somehow knew, sat in eerie silence with his father on their front step a few doors down from my house the next morning. The father, obviously waiting for orders to deploy, waited by concern for his family, for the family he would leave behind. My next door neighbor, coming home after 3 worrying days of absence, having successfully dug his best friend out from under rubble at the Pentagon, and immediately starting to worry about the safety of the Pakistani family at the end of our street, who were such great gardeners, but the wife wore a headscarf, and he knew enough to be afraid for her. But still, he said, they hate us for some unspecified brown they. To me, also brown. And little brown children in American schools got asked if they were terrorists. This actually happened. As I drove around collecting teddy bears for charity, so poor children wouldn't think bin Laden had killed Santa Claus that year. While on television, Charlie Rose spoke earnestly about helping our children, America's children, through the trauma of that attack, but didn't mention, and perhaps didn't know, or wasn't interested in the separate trauma of the brown children. And here we are today, every BIPOC person aware, hair on our arms sticking out and aware of danger. And I realized, listening to a white friend, the biggest danger is her comfortable assurance that all of us are sharing the same existential threats.
Amazing. And you said, yeah, vital poem, as always. This is fresh ink, Shamala?
Today, and I will add in, because it's necessary,
Yeah.
people like your child,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
the danger is on them too.
I know. And it's very vital and important. So again, I'm back to saying thank y'all for writing the hard stuff. There's actually time, so I'm gonna read a poem, which I never
Oh,
do.
yes,
Um,
please.
I'm gonna read one that's not in any book, but well, it was published in an anthology. And it's called Because a Doorway Can Be an Ambush. And this is kind of dovetailing into the 9/11 theme because of the war on terrorism. It has a little addition to the poem for Tony, 82nd Airborne, Iraqi Freedom, 2003. When you're in the shop, the gritting sound of the metal grinder glinting fire into the air, or the arc of light flashing blue hot above the weld pool to form a joint. I stand outside the open doorway, calling your name, waiting for you to turn fully and lift the dark shield of your welding helmet to see me, known, unarmed. I wait to see your shoulders soften before I cross the threshold towards you. That is that.
Wow.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I haven't read in a while. It was so good to be in your company. It's a lot to hold, but it's a lot of arms and a lot of space that we can create together. I admire y'all's courage, your hearts. Rob, you were a perfect person to be here today, and we really
you.
am grateful.
Thank you again for inviting me. It was really, really, I appreciate it. And thank you all for coming and listening.
You are so awesome. Yeah. All right, guys. So next week, just as a little heads up, I had somebody cancel. And so we're probably either going to get a chance to celebrate maybe Christy and doing some ekphrastic stuff with her and Karen, and maybe Laura, or we're going to have a chat section. So chat time. We have had this happen before, just a couple of times in the past. Holy cow, we've been doing this for 5 years. Over 5 years. But if that is true, if it's, I'll let everybody know that we're just having a gathering and hanging in each other's good company. So be prepared. All right, guys, be well. Good seeing you.